welcome to our lesson with Glassell-on-the-Go. Our focus work for today's project is the Shepard Fairey Barack Obama Hope poster. So Shepard Fairey is a really talented artist, and he created this poster in 2008. You may have seen it, you may know of him. It became very popular, and so we're using that project as our inspiration today. So Shepard Fairey was originally, he went to art school, and he considered himself more of a street artist. However, he also does studio art, and he's a studio practicing artist too, and he mostly does printmaking. So he has some awesome studio spaces where he does really beautiful prints on screens. So what exactly is screen printing? It's where an artist takes a screen and then you pull ink down the screen, and all the ink will go all the way through the screen except where you put on some kind of medium to keep the ink out. So that's the concept of screen printing. Artists have used different things throughout history for screen printing. Currently, a lot of artists, including Shepard Fairey, uses like light emulsion, so they'll cover it in emulsion. But for us today, we have a simple, fun way to learn how to do screen printing at home. So we're going to create our own screen using an embroidery hoop and some stockings. So this is what we're going to make today, and we're going to focus our project on letters. So our overall theme is portraiture, but for today we're going to focus on words and letterpress word art. So your objective is to think of a word that inspires you, that describes you, and it can't be too long because it has to fit on here, unless you want to do the letters in some kind of artistic way. That is totally fine as well. So for my project, I just used the word hope. All right, let's get to work. So you're gonna have your embroidery hoop like this. We loosen the top of it, right here. Nice and easy. And the inside loop comes out. Now for the stocking, we're gonna cut it right along the line at the back of it. So we'll cut this here. Now, this sock just barely fits around the hoop. So I actually had a friend help me the first time I did it. So if you have a second set of hands, that's great. If not, you can do it yourself. So if I look a little awkward scrunching it on here, it's because it's a bit of a two-person job. So you're gonna pull the hoop, pull the material across the hoop, and then once you have it pulled across, you're gonna put the second hoop on. All right, once you've stretched your material across your embroidery hoop, we have to tighten it. So I'm just pulling it along here and pulling it here to make it nice and taut. Nice and taut so that it makes a nice strong screen. So I'm pulling all the excess this way and pulling it this way. And once you feel like it's nice and taut, you'll take the little pin at the top and tighten it. And that way, it'll stay secure. And at that point, you can go ahead and cut off this extra. So just snip it along here. You don't want the extra hanging around the edges. It'll make it hard to print, so definitely cut that off. Okay, cut this section off and we are ready to go. All right, your hoop is ready, nice and taut, and you have your homemade screen. Now, what we're gonna do is write a word on here. Again, the word is up to you. I did another one here, so I did hope on my first one, and on this one I did actually the word love. What's important is which side you write on. So if you put your hoop flat on the table with this upper part here, you can write the word as if you were writing it perfectly on a paper. Don't write it on the other side because you'd have to do it backwards because it's going to print backwards. So put it flat on the table and use a pencil, not a marker, because the marker actually could end up going through onto your screen print. So write any word you want. These ones I wrote block letters, love and hope, but I'm thinking creatively, you could really put the letters in a circle, you could put them in a zigzag. It's really up to you. Try to be creative. Also think of the font that you want to use. So again, you don't have a lot of space on here, so a shorter word is better. But you could, I printed off online different fonts. So like you have Times New Roman, you have Arial, you have Comic Sans, you have the italic ones. So think of some creative way of doing your word, and that'll make your artwork more unique to yourself. So put your word on here. Let's say I'll do love again, and it has to be block letters because that's where the ink will shine through. So it's kind of a reverse idea of making the word. So everywhere around it will be blocked out. So only the letters, the ink will shine through. So you probably can't see that on the camera. Maybe you can. It's very light, so I put it very lightly. Okay, now what to do? You're going to flip it over. So now the screen is about 1/2 inch off the table. You will put a paper towel underneath, and you are going to use Mod Podge to block out the areas where you don't want the ink to go through. So you'll take the Mod Podge like so, a paintbrush, and you'll carefully paint everywhere on the screen that you don't want ink, and then the places where you do want ink, you'll leave them blank. So for me, I'm painting all around the letters right now, and then the ink is going to come through where there is no Mod Podge. And that is the process of screen printing. That is how artists do screen printing, but of course they put their other chemicals on, not necessarily just Mod Podge. Okay, I'm gonna have the V ready right away so you can get an idea. Put it on pretty thickly and don't have any little bubble spots or spots where there's no Mod Podge. Anywhere where you don't put it, you'll have a problem. So you can see here the letter V is all ready, and I'm gonna keep going with Mod Podge all around it so that there's blocked all the way through. Again, make it nice and thick and make sure that there's no holes. Once you're done, you're gonna let it dry for about 4 to 5 hours, and when it's dry, it's gonna be clear. So I wrote love on both of these. You can see the one that dried and the one that's still wet. And once it's dry, you're actually ready to apply ink to it. So we're gonna go ahead with this one while we let that one dry, and you can see the next step. All right, here comes the fun part. So you're gonna pour your ink across the top of your screen, just like a screen printer would do. And from here, they would use a type of squeegee to pull it down. I'm just using an old business card. If you have a piece of cardboard at home, anything with a little strength to it, you can use that. So an old credit card, something like that. So now you're gonna pull the ink down the screen, and this fills in the ink, just like that. And everywhere where there's no Mod Podge, the ink should shine through. There we go. Let's set that to the side and see what we have. It worked out pretty well. Over here I went above the Mod Podge, so I made a bit of a problem. I'm gonna do one more. Over here. So this is the beauty of screen printing, is you can do multiple prints. So here I'll refill it with some more ink. In this case our ink is paint, which is fine. You pull pull the paint down with your squeegee. Make sure I don't go above it this time. Now, one thing you can do that helped me when I printed is I just used a paintbrush to make sure that it went all the way through the screen, and this really helped. So if you're finding your print isn't as dark as you like, you can push the ink through with a brush, like that. And this one came through super well. So there we have our first one. Now, because it's a series, I'm gonna do another one right beside it. Or because it's screen printing. Again, the beauty of screen printing is you can do multiples. And on this one, I'm gonna use my brush again. Oops, just to be sure that it goes all the way through. Okay, we've got our two lovely prints, and I put a heart underneath. Now again, what you can do, sorry, I'll put them lower so we can see them. We have our two lovely prints here. Now what we can do as well is take our one that I printed yesterday, Hope. I printed this in gold and it dried. These are washable, which is fantastic. I just washed the ink off and now I'm ready to print it again. So this time I'm gonna use black ink and I'm gonna move my screen slightly to the side. And this is gonna create a shadow image, which is really fun. Okay, so I've placed it there. I'll get my ink ready, and our ink being our paint in this case. Make sure I set it just off center, so there it's centered. And I wanna slightly move it to the side. And now it's gonna create a shadow. So I'll put my ink down. I'll pull it down with my screen printing technique. And then just to be sure, I'll use my brush. Nope, I don't want to use that brush. Well, then I can just clean it off. Use that black, there we go. Let's put the same letters on. And we'll see if we created ourselves a little shadow here with the gold behind it. And we did. So you can see here, right behind the black letters of Hope, you have the shadow of the gold. So it gives it a three-dimensional feel. I'll go ahead and repeat the process here on this one. H-O-P-E, move it slightly to the side. I think there's enough ink on here just to pull it through with the brush. We'll see how this one turns out. I moved this one slightly farther to the side to see if we can give it a stronger shadow. We'll see. I didn't put enough ink on there, but that's okay. So we have two samples of our Hope with a shadow. All right, so a few little notes before we end our video. After you do your first print, like I did here, because we're using acrylic paint, it's important to go wash it off right away before it dries. So as soon as you do as many prints as you want of your word, run and wash it off just with water and it'll rinse right off and let it dry. Or you can even dry it faster with a blow dryer if you like. And the second note is when you do print it, for the second layer, just set it a little bit to the side to create that shadow. So this one is our print that we made with love with our screen. This one would be drying, and once it's dry, you can do the L, the black, the exact same letters, and move it to the side. Here's the original one that I did with Hope. I made 4 prints of it, and on these prints, I did the little offset with the black to create the shadow. So have fun with this project. What's awesome about screen printing is that you can make multiples. And you can also try, if you like, I did gold on the back and black on the front, but you can also do black on the back and gold on the front. Since it's nice thick acrylic paint, it will cover the black and it will look just great. So I hope you enjoy this project. I hope you enjoy screen printing, and make sure to send us some pictures.